What makes DengiAll a game changer? With one shot, 4 strains protected. This is Atmanirbhar Dengue vaccine. Phase 3 trials underway in 18 states. Is the dengue dread set to be defeated?
Welcome to this episode of Xplained, brought to you by NewsX. I'm Megha Sharma. Today we will be telling you about India's first ever indigenous dengue vaccine, DengiAll. It is made in India shield. It promises to change the landscape of dengue medicine. But before we dive into the science and the story behind this vaccine, let's put out some important facts and figures. To understand why DengiAll is so significant, we must understand its roots. Dengue isn't a new visitor. The first recorded clinical case of dengue-like illness in India dates all the way back to 1780 in Madras, now Chennai. It likely arrived via global trade routes, hitching a ride on sailing ships from Africa and Southeast Asia. However, it wasn't until 1963 in Kolkata that the virus was virologically confirmed during a massive epidemic. For decades, it remained a sporadic threat, but the real spike began the moment dengue became a national health crisis in 1996. That year, a devastating outbreak of dengue hemorrhagic fever hit Delhi and North India, recording over 10,000 cases and hundreds of deaths, forcing the government to make the disease notifiable. Between 2005 and 2025, India has seen a roller coaster of infection. In 2005, reported cases were in the range of 12,000. Fast forward to 2024 and the National Centre for Vector-Borne Diseases reported a staggering 2.3 lakh cases and nearly 300 deaths. As of late 2025, while the trend showed a slight plateau due to better management, over 90,000 cases were still reported in just the first 10 months of the year. For years, India watched from the sidelines as the world developed vaccines. But the road to a dengue shot is notoriously difficult. Unlike many viruses, dengue has 4 distinct serotypes: Dengue 1, 2, 3 and 4. They are caused by aberrations in the same dengue virus. These are known as serotypes and have more or less the same symptoms and are all transmitted through the female Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. If a vaccine protects you against one but not the others, a second infection from a different type can actually be more severe, a phenomenon known as antibody-dependent enhancement. Historically, India has looked at 2 major international players: Dengue, developed by a French company, Sanofi Pasteur, and Odenka, developed by the Japanese pharmaceutical company Takeda. Dengue is the world's first licensed dengue vaccine. However, it came with a heavy caveat. It could only be given to people who had already had dengue once. In a country like India, mass screening before vaccination made it logistically and financially impossible. Qdenga, on the other hand, has been approved more recently in over 40 countries. While effective, the pricing for such imported vaccine often sits between $50 to $120 per dose in international markets. This is where the story of DengiAll begins. The idea wasn't born overnight. The journey started back in 2006 when a collaboration was struck between the Indian pharmaceutical giant Panacea Biotech and the National Institutes of Health in the United States. The NIH had developed a speed strain, a weakened live attenuated version of all 4 dengue serotypes. Panacea Biotech took this raw biological blueprint and spent the next 2 decades Indianizing it. They refined the formulation, conducted grueling phase 1 and 2 trials to ensure it was safe for the Indian genetic makeup, and navigated the complex regulatory waters of the DGCI. The backing for this project is a masterclass in public-private partnership. It isn't just a corporate venture. It is heavily supported by the Indian Council of Medical Research. The investment has been massive, spanning millions of dollars in research, development, and the setting up of specialized manufacturing units that can handle live virus production at scale. The primary force is Panacea Biotech, led by Dr. Rajesh Jain, the managing director and titan in the Indian biotech space. Dr. Jain's vision was clear from the start. India cannot rely on the West for tropical diseases solutions. Under his leadership, Panacea, which previously played a pivotal role in India's polio-free status by supplying over 10 billion oral doses, pivoted its massive infrastructure towards dengue. Dr. Syed Khalid Ali, Chief Scientific Officer of Panacea Biotech, put the unique challenge of creating a vaccine for dengue in these words. Dengue has puzzled scientists and immunologists for decades now. People infected with it can show anything from mild flu-like symptoms to even death, explained Khalid. A lot of it has to do with the serotypes of dengue and how they interact with each other. The partnership with the ICMR, currently under the leadership of Director General, has provided the clinical backbone. The government has treated this as a mission mode project under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. The investment isn't just monetary, it's an investment of human capital with over 10,335 volunteers participating in phase 3 trials across 19 sites in 18 Indian states. Let's talk numbers because this is where DengiAll changes the game. When we compare a domestically produced vaccine like DengiAll against foreign alternatives, there is a considerable difference. Number one is the price point. While imported vaccines could cost 4,000 to 9,000 rupees, DengiAll is projected to be 60 to 80% more cost effective. Number two is the dosage regimen. Current international vaccines typically require a 2 to 3 series administered over 6 to 12 months. In contrast, DengiAll is developed as a streamlined single-dose solution. Number three is the target demographic. Most foreign vaccines are restricted by prior infection requirement. DengiAll, however, is designed to be taken both by exposed as well as naive individuals. These are also the three fundamental reasons why countries are keeping their eyes peeled to see the result of DengiAll trials. While India's DengiAll is a front runner, it isn't the only one using this specific scientific blueprint. Brazil's Instituto Butantan is providing fierce competition with its own vaccine, Butantan DV. Since they share the same biological DNA, the two vaccines are essentially siblings in a race for global dominance. In late 2025, Brazil's health regulator Anvisa officially approved Butantan DV for use in their national immunization program after phase 3 trials showed a robust 79.6% overall efficacy. For India, the competition with Butantan isn't just about who finishes the race first, but about who can scale production faster to meet the needs of the multi-billion-dollar global market in the global south. As we stand here in 2026, the final results of the phase 3 trials are being meticulously analyzed. If the data holds, we are months away from a reality where dengue season no longer carries a sense of dread.
What makes DengiAll a game changer? With one shot, 4 strains protected. This is Atmanirbhar Dengue vaccine. Phase 3 trials underway in 18 states. Is the dengue dread set to be defeated?